After the surprisingly great episode from last week, where we got, everything that's great about how the MCU works in one 50-minute session, I'm so happy to be talking with you about the new chapter of the story. Let's waste no time. Hi, fellow Disney Plus watchers, this is Thoughts After Disney Plus Watch, where we review everything new Disney Plus coming out, and I'm glad you're watching. The episode was good, a little exposition heavy, but we got a lot of plot progression. Last week we got story and character, this week mostly plot. And that's fine, we need to get the plot moving to land the story in only 6 episodes. I do think this episode was a little too fast maybe, like it jumps from location to location in a blink of an eye and dumps exposition like crazy. By the way, if you're interested in commentary on previous Falcon and the Winter Soldier episodes, you can find that playlist listed on the right in the description or on my channel page. And before we move on, did you know I'm currently the only review channel on YouTube that is specifically Disney Plus? You'll always know what to expect. Click that button and that bell if you want to follow along. Thank you so much. Okay, this first part is spoiler free, so I want to touch on some things where this episode shined, and the thing that stood out to me the most this week is actually the soundtrack. So Zemo is a big part of the episode, because of the cliffhanger from last week's chapter. His dark, brooding tune returns when we first see him again. You know, the one from Captain America Civil War. Steve's Captain America theme, also from Civil War, returns when the main characters discuss his legacy, and even the action-packed motive from the Winter Soldier is back when he's fighting some blokes. And it's glorious when all those themes return in a bit of a new fashion. It's once again hitting home that this series is in some way Captain America 4. What I realized after watching the episode, by the way, is how it got from really interesting and entertaining to, if I'm totally honest here, a bit uninteresting and jarring. Okay, I have to explain myself thoroughly here. This episode went on too long. Well, not even too long, but the information dump was just too much after the first half. The first half carries a lot of tension, stakes, but also some good character moments and humor. The same flavor we got from this show last week was back, and it was so entertaining to watch everything play out. But then we got some necessary, you should see this person, I know a guy, we have to travel here, that stuff. But without the touches of wit and entertaining elements thrown in the mix. A big part of the episode got a bit on the tedious side, and that's so unfortunate to fault this episode for, because this show really gives us a lot of story and moves very quickly. Especially this week, it moves, but that was a thing for me. One thing that was very thought-provoking, I believe, was some information and insight involving a corporation named GRC. I will elaborate on it in the spoiler section, but it was once again a great commentary on the current political climate. Just like we got some interesting politics last week, it's back in full force in this episode, and I love when Marvel movies or shows make me reflect on political movements and global changes happening in the real world. Zemo is a great character, and his dynamic with Bucky is great. Because, he pretty much molested him, he's an abuser. And now they have to work together, which makes for a tricky foundation to begin with. The first meeting between these two fellas was filled with tension and just brought in some serious Captain America trilogy vibes. This show really is the Captain America 4 I didn't know I wanted, and this is one of the scenes that proves that the best. So this episode got some interesting things to say about current political movements, was very entertaining in this first half, lost some steam in the second half because of its need to cram a lot of story inside of this chapter, so it makes for not an amazing episode of TV, but still a good time and once again an unexpected cliffhanger. But we'll talk about that later. But don't leave, I have some thoughts on some spoiler stuff, so if you don't mind, here are the spoilers, here we go. Spoilers. GRC, Global Repatriation Council, helping you back to the way things were. Interesting. Now don't get me wrong, I haven't put on my tinfoil hat yet. This show was written and produced before the current situation of and the global recovery plan of the World Economic Forum and partners, but it is interesting to draw the similarities. GRC's slogan is Reset, Restore, Rebuild. That is so similar to, the phrase that's been thrown around for some time now by leaders all over the world. And a post-blip world where everything is in chaos is expected to be compared to our own world problems we face right now. Not even talking about the health issue alone, but mostly what it meant for politics and societies. It's the aftermath of what happened what brings far more chaos than the happening alone, that's for sure. And that's exactly why I get the gang of Carly Morgenthau and why I'm also kind of invested in that storyline a bit. Can you guys help me with this? Of course we know her from Black Panther, of course we know her, and how cool is it that we are probably getting some insight in the White Wolf years where Bucky stayed in Wakanda. Can you help me in the comments? I know this is not Okoye. Is that right? Okoye? But who is it? I can't find it listed on IMDb, so it's bothering me a bit. Or can we talk about the scene where Zemo finds a car in one of the containers, which is really sudden and weird, but I'll take it. But that line from Sam, "You won't move your seat, will you?" Sam asks Buck. This whole thing was set up to make that joke, and that's weird, sure, because why steal that car when you arrive there on foot or I don't know, with another vehicle, but sure, he's a criminal, something like that. It was a bit cheap, but that line was priceless. It represented what's so good about the MCU, building characters over such a long period of time and so thoroughly that moments like these are so precious. But the way they got to that joke was really clunky and not really made any sense, but okay. As I said, the first half of the episode is packed with great moments, and the episode really shined in Madripoor. The neon colors, the dusty bars, the crooked types, it all looked amazing. And then there was Sam having to stay in character, having to drink the usual, which meant drinking a piece of a snake. The phone call from Sarah exposing Sam as an imposter, while all the same making the first episode of this season more relevant. I'm still not entirely sure about this change of pace for Peggy. I know she's been through a lot of trouble and can't show her face in the US because of her crimes, but I don't know about how this episode handled her. I mean, this character could have been anyone, at least so far, right? That's the vibe I got. She transformed into a different kind of character with suddenly so much fighting skills. It's fine when characters are different, but it feels so much like night and day that I'm not sold yet. She also felt like a rushed addition in this episode. She was relevant because she was a middleman for the next man to look for, but you know, why Sharon? Why change her up this much only to have this actress reappear because she was the one from Captain America movies? Still not clear, but I will come back to it. If there's a lot more backstory and character progression in store for her, then I will change my opinion, I think. The best thing about this week's chapter was by far the GRC. That was so interesting, which by the way is also an acronym for governance, risk management, and compliance. I know it doesn't mean anything, I believe, but you know. I love this reflection of society which reminds us of today's world. And the first half of the episode was very tense. Good to have Zemo back. Sharon Carter was rushed, as well as the second half of the episode. But by giving us so much exposition, we got the story going, so that's cool. I'm not thrilled this week, but still curious of how this will end, especially with Wakanda playing a part in all this now. I'm thinking about wrapping this up. If you want to leave a like, that's cool. And don't forget that we're doing also the Mighty Ducks Game Changers every week, so check out the playlist for that. Thank you so much for following along. We're doing Big Shot this month, as well as the Bad Batch next month, and so much more. For now, have a wonderful day and see ya!